Okay, so hi all, and welcome to this intro video for Math 126, which is Applied Statistics for the summer 2020 semester. This video is just going to give you an overview of the course and show you how to get started with purchasing access to the online book and homework system, and where to look in Canvas for everything. And anyway, all of the kinds of getting started questions hopefully will be answered in this video and give you a little bit of a sense of what's to come in the next 8 weeks or so for our class. So I'm just going to go through three things really. One is to chat a little bit about the Canvas page, which I'll come back to, but is here and obviously is where you found this video. I'll go over the ebook and homework system and how to sort of navigate that. But for starters, I'll start with the course syllabus, which is the second thing linked here on Canvas. You can open it if you want in order to follow along, or I'll open it here on the screen so we can all take a quick look at it. So this is me, so sorry. Hi, I'm Mike Deal. I teach math and computer science in the math and computer science department at Endicott in the day school. And I've been at Endicott for about 13 years or so, which is also probably roughly the number of times that I've run this course in this online format for the Van Loan School. So it's at this point hopefully a pretty well-oiled machine. No major hiccups or kinks. Hopefully those have all been worked out over the years. If you need me, I do, of course, it's summer, so even in a regular summer I would not really be around and on campus much. So if you do need me, please feel free to email me. There's my email address, or contact me through Canvas. Right, I think a lot of you know you can say send message to instructor in Canvas. That's fine too. That comes right to my regular email as well. Our course officially, I guess, runs from May 26th through July 19th, which is the 19th, which I think is the Sunday of July, is officially the last day of our course, and that's when our final exam will be due and stuff like that. So this sort of lines up very nicely with our with the course schedule. We have about 8 weeks, so I guess this first week conceivably is a little shorter, since I think the 26th is Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. Very hard to keep track of what day it is these days, isn't it? But we have about 8 weeks, which is perfect. So what's the course all about? I'll just give you the summary of what all of that probably says by saying it's an intro course to statistics. So it assumes no prior knowledge of statistics. But what we will cover in this course are the basics of statistics from kind of a consumer or regular person perspective. And then later in the course, we get into some, more difficult, I guess, or more advanced, maybe I'll say, diagnostics that you would use if you were doing or running statistical analyses. This is by no means a comprehensive statistics course, in the sense that it is an intro course. So much like you would expect, we will introduce a lot of things and do some things, but there are many other courses and skills that you could take in statistics. Some of you may be taking the class as along a path towards a research methods type course, which is sometimes required for some programs, and or leading you in towards a senior thesis, which is required for some programs, which hopefully you're not taking this as your very, very, very last class if you're doing some of those things, because probably some of this will be useful. Depends on what kind of work you're doing, but I think also I would say that this is a good class just for everybody, a general person, which I think we all are, in that you'll pick up some things that I think you hear in everyday life about statistical findings, a margin of error, those sorts of things that we sometimes hear when we hear a report. So it's got good stuff, I think, for everybody. In terms of background and whatnot, obviously it's an intro course and there is no formal prerequisite, so there's no formal background expected in terms of knowledge or skills. I will say, just in the sense that this is a college level course, there is of course an assumption that you do have some basic math skills, not anything really beyond what you should have learned in high school, which even if it's been a while since you were in high school, I'm sure that math hasn't changed much. In fact, maybe it's gotten better in some regards, that we can use technology to do an awful lot of computation. And indeed, we'll be using Excel, Microsoft Excel, to do all of our heavy lifting for us. So you will not be doing a whole lot of, or really any, arithmetic, maybe just getting some things set up, and using either a calculator when it's an easy computation, or Excel when it's a more challenging one. So that's going to take hopefully some anxiety off of any sort of, oh, I've always been bad at math. I will say that that's a common feeling heading into this course, and I will say that there's a fair amount of people who will say after the fact, after taking the course, oh, that wasn't as bad, or, I thought it was going to be awful and it was just, oh, it was maybe not great, but it was at least not as bad as they thought. I will acknowledge the whole "I've always been bad at math" thing, just to say, really, if that's kind of where you're at, thinking about this course, really try to suppress those negative feelings when you kind of, in general, I think, in life, believe that you're going to be bad at something. You oftentimes are bad at that thing. And it's not, sometimes obviously that happens and it's beyond your control. But if you kind of have this belief of, well, I know this is going to be bad and I've always been bad at math, a lot of times you do then do badly in this course. And there's really, I think in many ways, not really a good reason for it. It's just this sort of negative energy that inevitably comes true. And I think when you encounter adversity in this course, or any course where you have that kind of attitude, you're just going to sort of be like, see, I knew it was going to be bad. And then it's like, so that gives me an excuse to, I don't know, to continue to be bad, I guess. So try as much as you can. I know it's easy for me to say, a person with a PhD in math, to say math isn't that hard. But it really behooves you to try to just think, okay, this is a fresh start. And in many ways, statistics, even if you've had bad math experiences, statistics is somewhat of a, I would call it, separate subject than math. So anyway, sorry, that was my motivational speech towards giving this a clean look and a fresh start. In terms of math skills that you should be familiar with, basic numeracy and arithmetic is really all you need to be able to understand. You should know what a square root is, or at least where to find that key on your calculator. You should know how to do addition and subtraction and multiplication and division, again, with the aid of technology. You don't have to know how to do anything fancy, really not even any algebra. We won't really even do anything involving variables. So it's just basically a sense of numeracy, decimals, what decimals are, and things like that. It shouldn't be too heavy. It shouldn't be too taxing, at least in terms of mathy kinds of things that you're thinking about. So that's the course description. There's a course outline here, which you're welcome to look through, but that roughly describes our topics and what we'll be doing, roughly, well, not roughly, actually, from top to bottom there. There is a hourly chart there, which is at least a rough estimate of how much time you may be spending on these things. This is a 3-credit course, so there are 135 hours of time that you should be spending in order to earn 3 credits. And some of you may spend less than that if this comes naturally to you, and that's all right. But some/many of you will spend 135 hours in this course over the next 8 weeks. So, right. There are some learning outcomes there, which you're welcome to look through more carefully. So some other important details. So textbook for the course, we'll be using an ebook, which the title is listed there. It's bundled with an online homework system, and the online homework system is called My Stat Lab. This is all part of the Pearson, which is a big, huge textbook publisher. It's all under their umbrella, the textbook and the homework system. So if you already maybe have taken a course that's used a Pearson text, you may have a login already for Pearson. which is fine if you do. If you don't, it's easy to obviously sign up for. I'm going to show you in a minute or in a few minutes what this My Stat Lab and where to find the ebook and all of that stuff. So I'll show this to you. But if you've taken an online class before that's used online homework systems, it's a similar creature to what you may have experienced. This is where you'll go. My Stat Lab is where you'll go to complete all of the homework assignments for the course. I'll, like I said, I'll give you a brief orientation of that. Other things, so besides the textbook and besides the ebook and My Stat Lab, which are packaged together, and you can, of course, it's electronic, right? So as soon as you sign up, you have instant access, so you don't need to worry about ordering something and waiting for it to arrive or anything like that. It's all electronic. So they do offer, I believe, a trial period. I don't know exactly how long it is. I think it varies depending on the semester, but you're welcome to do that if you want. Of course, the trial period obviously does not get you through the whole semester, so you will need to purchase access at some point. It is about 105, 110, somewhere in that neighborhood for the both, for it bundled together. I don't believe there's any way for you to purchase it in any other format, and in terms of from Amazon or something, because you need these things bundled and you need an access code. And I will say we're not going to use the book all that much. You will for the first chapter, but then beyond that we won't use it a whole lot. So of the money you're paying for this, it's almost entirely for the online homework system, which if we did just alone, it's almost the same exact price as getting the book bundled in. So of course that's how these things are, is that that's mostly what you're paying for, is the online homework service. So anyway, so do sign up for that ASAP. And you'll have access to be able to start the course. Other things you'll probably want or will need is this is an Excel-based course, so you do need access to Microsoft Excel. So if hopefully most of you have that on your computers already, or a computer that you have access to. Any version of Excel is fine, whether you're on a Mac, whether you're in Windows, it's fine. If you have a version of Excel from like 10 years ago, that's probably fine too. There's really Excel doesn't do a whole lot of updates, or not that we care about in our course anyway. But you will need access to this, so you do have to get your hands on it somehow. If you don't already have it and are going to purchase Excel, my advice would be to check out whether you can get a free version, a student version, and an educator, or a student version. I believe there is a way to do this through Endicott, since you all have Endicott logins, that you may be able to get Excel access. I'll follow up. I meant to actually do that before coming on here. I'll at least I'll post a link on the Canvas page, so that if you don't have Excel already, that you may be able to get it for free. I should say, let me just cover both options. If you can't and you do have to purchase, you should get like I said, any device is fine except a touch screen device, like an iPad or your phone or something like that. You can't do the Excel stuff that we need with a touch screen. It has to be an actual laptop or computer. I mean, it can be a laptop that has touch screen capabilities. That's fine, but it's got to have a mouse, or the ability for you to highlight stuff and right click and stuff like that, or 2-finger click. So it's got to be some sort of computer as opposed to some other viewer. So if you are purchasing, just make sure you get it on an actual laptop or computer, as opposed to an iPad. I think that's the most common thing. Also, there is an online Excel. That also is not going to work, because again, for us, we're going to need to be able to do extensive highlighting and clicking, which the online version does not support. So, okay, so that's Excel. Like I said, I'll check out and see whether there's a student option or student license option that's covered through the college. And the only other thing, though, that you in terms of technology that you may want is a calculator. Don't buy a calculator, right? You all have cell phones, and your cell phones have calculators for the most part. That's probably good enough. You can do everything in Excel if you want, and some people love just, I do everything in Excel, that's fine. But there will be some basic computations. What is 37 divided by 83? I mean, I don't know. But that's probably something you want to type into a calculator and just do that, right? So you may want to have a calculator, a simple calculator. And the other thing that you, I think, should have is a notebook, right? So I have to emphasize that I think with an online class where obviously everything is going to be electronically distributed to you, I do think it really nothing is as good as pen and paper or pencil and paper. So I would encourage you to have a notebook, or at least paper, that you take notes in as you watch lecture videos. I do think that that's an important way to learn, is to write stuff down. If for no other reason, it keeps you from kind of wandering and clicking on other things during the lecture videos. And also being able to see things in your own words. It makes an enormous difference when you go to take exams or do homework problems. If you've already kind of digested whatever I've said in these lectures, you won't have to then do that on the spot. So I would encourage you to have some sort of notebook thing. Also, for doing homework problems, obviously, for doing math problems, you're gonna need some scratch paper, right? Basically, or some scratch space to do computations and whatnots. So my advice would be to have a notebook so you can jot some problems down. In addition, when you're doing homework problems, if you get stuck, the best way you can get some help from me or from a tutor would be to send them a picture of what you've done. Right? So math is very awkward to type, of course, but if you've written out, here's me doing problem number 7, I did this, and then I did that, and then I did this, and I got, whatever answer, and it's wrong, evidently. An easy thing to do is take a quick picture of that with your phone and attach it to an email to either me or a tutor, and that way we can see, okay, you were right about 98% of this, but you just missed one little thing here, right, or something like that. So it's much easier to troubleshoot when you have something on paper that you can show. So anyway, so all of that is to say, have a notebook or some paper, which I'm sure you all have, so that you can do those things. The lectures are going to be on Canvas. I'll show those to you when we go over to Canvas. These are videos that you'll be able to watch. And hopefully take some notes. You can obviously rewatch them. I will say that the ebook, while you're going to read the ebook for the first chapter, I'm not assigning any reading out of the ebook after that. You obviously are welcome to read the ebook if you want. You have access to the whole thing. There are also videos embedded in the ebook or as part of the ebook. Those are not my videos. They're just videos that the textbook publisher made. Again, you're welcome to watch them, but those are not required and, in fact, not expected that you will have watched any of those things or anything else for that matter that's in the ebook. The ebook has all kinds of bells and whistles, as you might imagine, but we're not really using most of that. So, but you're welcome to do so for extra help. Of course, your grade is important, and it's a very simple formula here. So you'll be doing weekly homework assignments. There'll be 6 of those, so those will add up to a quarter of your grade. And then you'll be taking a midterm exam and a final exam. Those will be at the 4 and 8 week marks of the course, and that comprises the rest of your grade, evenly weighted, half and half, midterm and final. So it's a pretty easy formula to figure out how you're doing. I will enter grades for you in Canvas so that you'll be able to see how you're doing. Just sort of be cautious that, of course, the Canvas gradebook, if you've taken a course before that uses it, projects, right? So if you get an A on the midterm or something like that, it's going to assume that you're going to also get an A on the final, which hopefully that happens. But of course, if you get a C on the final, that's going to bring your grade down. So and same thing for homeworks, right? If you get 100 on the first homework, it's going to assume you've gotten 100 on all the homeworks, which obviously you haven't, right? So just be mindful to take the grade you see with a grain of salt to an extent that you see in there. But I'll be updating the Canvas page or grade book so that you have some sense at least of where you're at. But it's a very simple grade formula, so you can honestly just do it on your own if you don't want to rely on that. Like I said, homework, I'll say most of this probably when we go over to my stat lab, but there are weekly assignments. The format of the questions, some of them are fill in blank or drop down menus, or maybe even true false. There might be a handful of those. But most of them, or at least the important questions, are probably more so related to doing computations. So I'll say this when we go over there, but you do have multiple chances. In fact, you have infinite chances to get problems right. So I'll show you how to do that. The homeworks obviously have due dates, and they're posted both in my stat lab and also on Canvas. So please make sure you turn in homework assignments on time. I will emphasize that there are no extensions in this course for anything, for whether it's for homework problems or homework sets or exams, and that is because the fact that the assignments are posted and everything is posted on day one, so you need to budget your time appropriately. So please do make sure you turn in assignments when they're due. There's a lateness penalty if you do complete homework assignments afterwards. I believe it's 20 or 25, I think it's 20. 20% a day of lateness penalty, so you can still submit homework after it's due, but just be aware that you're losing 20% a day for every day beyond the due date. So obviously if it gets to be more than a few days, you essentially can't really get any points, or get very few points. So just sort of be mindful of due dates. The exams will be administered through Canvas, so hopefully you've taken some courses that have used Canvas for exams, but even if you haven't, it's very easy and natural that you'll go to Canvas. I'll show you where it is in Canvas. To take the exams, they are timed exams, so you will have a fixed amount of time. I think it's maybe 2 hours for the midterm and 3 hours for the final. I forget exactly, but it says it there. So you will have to do it all in one sitting. So you're going to say, all right, I'm going to start this exam, and then you're going to take it, right, from start to finish, hit submit, and that's the end of it. And you can't go back in and change stuff or anything like that. And the big challenge, I think, on exams isn't so much time. I think most people have plenty of time to complete them. It's just that with homework, you can try a problem multiple times until you get it right. Obviously, on an exam, you can't do that, because that would mean everybody would get 100 probably at some point. So you do have to be a little more confident going into exams, but I'll say a little more about that. And the last thing I'll just say, I think I mentioned this earlier, right? So this is a 135-hour course, which in a regular semester, or in an in-person semester, if you're a day student, is maybe 15 weeks, but this is an 8-week course, so it does move a little more quickly. But if you're used to the 8-week format, then this should be no different, I don't think. So, just be mindful of budgeting your time. Some people like to do, stuff during the week, or weeknights maybe, or something like that. If you're working during the day, come home and spend a weeknight or two trying to knock out stuff. That's fine. Other people are kind of weekend warriors, more so with doing work, and might instead be dedicating their Saturdays and or Sundays to their coursework. So that's fine if that's you. But do just sort of budget. I think the course itself ramps up in difficulty, and the first week and the first assignment is really easy, and shouldn't take you more than, I don't know, an hour or two, maybe not even. But as we go through the course, you are going to spend 10 to 20 hours a week on this course and on the material. So, and maybe there may even be some weeks where it's a little more. So just sort of be mindful. I know that it's summer, and it's a bit of a funny summer this year with all that's going on. But if you have plans or vacations or other kinds of things, just sort of be mindful that you need to plan ahead for those things. If you know that you have a busy week, I mean, the course straddles the 4th of July, which who knows what that will exactly look like this year, but but if oh gosh, that's usually a week where I don't have much free time for whatever reason, that's fine, but then you do need to do the work that's due on July whatever ahead of time. So please do plan. I think it's, and like I said, please be mindful of the fact that there are going to be some weeks where you do need maybe as much as 20 hours of time. So if you're starting the work on Sunday, all of our assignments are due on Sunday nights. If you're starting the assignment Sunday at 4 p.m. and you've only given yourself 5 hours to watch 5 hours worth of videos and then do maybe a 5 to 10 hour homework assignment, okay, you're obviously going to be out of time. So my best advice is to start early whenever you're doing this. If you're working weeknights on it, that's great, because that way you have plenty of time. I caution you against I'll start this assignment on the day it's due. That often leads to, hi, I can't figure out some of these problems. Can I have an extension? And I've already indicated the answer is no, which means you may just be completing it late and losing points or whatever. So just be really, really careful and mindful of time. And if you do get extended time or other testing accommodations, please just let me know, and that's an easy thing for me to implement in Canvas. All right, so that's the end of syllabus talk. Let me come back to our Canvas page here. My Stat Lab is the next thing I'll just give you a little orientation to. So if you click on this third link here, these are instructions for how to register for the ebook and online homework system. So if you click on that, I won't click on it, but it gives you an easy step-by-step guide, I guess, for how to sign up for the ebook. And again, once you purchase this, you'll have access to the homework system as well as the ebook, which when you log in will look something like this. So this is the sort of home page, I think, for My Stat Lab, or My Lab Statistics, as they call it here. So this is where, now there are lots and lots of things here, and you need very few of them. So I'm going to try to make your life a little easier. Your screen may look a little different because I have the instructor, but the only things you really need in here, if you look on the left tab, are access to the ebook, which I'm going to show you where that is right now. So the ebook, I don't know why they didn't just put ebook or textbook or something like that, but I don't know, it's trying to be cool, I guess. They put chapter contents. That's their way of saying, click here for the ebook. So if you click on this tab called chapter contents, it brings you to another menu here now where you have all the chapters of the book. Like I said, with the first assignment, I am going to have you read chapter 1, which is not very long. And it's just sort of an overview and an intro to statistics in general. So if you click on any of the chapters, I'll click on chapter 1. It then further breaks this down into sections. Again, there's lots of stuff here, case studies, review things, whatever, activities. But if you just want to get to the book, those are the sections that you see here. So section 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. There's only 3 sections. So if you click on any one of these, I'll click on 1.1. Finally, we get a link here to actually go to the ebook. So the second link here is we'll open up a window that kind of looks like a PDF kind of thing of the ebook. All right, and then that'll let you, of course, watch it. I can't click on it because I don't actually have access to the ebook as the instructor, but it's there, right? So if you click on this and then click here, you'll get the book, right? A typical sort of textbook kind of thing. This is what I mentioned earlier. They do have videos here for every section. You can watch them if you want, but these are not the videos for the course. So I would say maybe don't watch them. And again, there's links to all kinds of other stuff. I don't know that students have really done these study plans and review things, but if you want to, they're here, right? So you can click, feel free if you want to do a chapter quiz. Sure, whatever. Okay, do it if you want, I guess. It's not expected, and it won't even really register any sort of grade for you, but it's up to you. My biggest caution on the ebook, I'll say that while I'm on a boring screen here. My biggest caution on all of this, My Stat Lab and the ebook and everything, is that our textbook is not a textbook that's specific to Excel. So if you are reading the book, again, beyond chapter 1, if you're reading the book or watching or getting any sort of feedback from My Stat Lab, it is assuming that you are taking a statistics class where you're computing things somewhat by hand, or in other words, without Excel. So while, of course, what they're telling you and what advice they might be giving you is true, it is also probably leading you to a much harder version or a much harder way of computing answers to a problem. So there aren't really any good Excel, unfortunately, Excel-based stats textbooks. They all tend to just be sort of very narrow and just cover like financial. Excel is more of a product that's more extensively used in the business world. So a lot of most of the texts that use Excel or teach Excel are almost teaching a business course within a statistics course, which is not really what this is supposed to be. Anyway, so it's a very good book and they have very good problems, but I have to emphasize this. I'll try to say this several times in this video in case you're not 100% listening. The advice that you get and the feedback that you get from the ebook is sometimes making your life way harder than it has to be. So I would just caution you to more so, or I would say stick with how we do it in class, how we do it in the lecture videos that I show you. And I'll show you how to do everything in Excel. Do it in Excel and do it the way that I'm showing you how to do it. Don't try to bust out. They're going to send you links through the system to go to some crazy chart from the 1950s. That is a chart that they used before they had calculators and stuff like that. So, I mean, don't do that, right? That's going to truly give you the bad feelings about, oh my gosh, this is why I've always been bad at math, or this is why I hate math. It's going to be so much easier to do everything in Excel. So try not to do the homework system is telling me I should do blah, 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 but I have no idea what that means. Correct. You don't know what that means. It's because it's telling you to do it in a very different way than how we went over it in class. So ignore that, right? And anytime you see links to, here's a table, a T table, or here's a table that you're going to use to look stuff up, don't do it. Don't look stuff up. Excel, Excel, Excel. Excel will answer all of your computational questions. Okay, so I'll say that again as I go through an example of a homework problem, but just sort of keep that in mind. I always get emails from students that are like, I don't understand, it says I'm supposed to do blah, 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 blah. Nope. It's saying that, but the instructions in the lecture videos and how we did it together uses none of that. So don't use that. Rewatch the video and you should be able to figure out how to do it. Okay? So, all right, so that's the book. Homework is the other link. Oh, there it is. Chapter contents, that gives you access to the book. Homework gives you access to, of course, the homework assignments. So if you click on homework, this is a much nicer screen to look at. It's got the 6. There are 6 here. Homework assignments laid out, and their due dates are listed here on the left. These are also listed in Canvas, so don't worry about looking the due dates up here. But they are listed in Canvas for you to keep track of. These are all due Sundays. I don't know if you can look at see all these dates here. But in our course, there's something due every single Sunday, and that's it. Right? Things aren't due on any other day of the week. So Sunday at 11 p.m. I should say Eastern Daylight Time. I don't know whatever system we're on right now is when everything is due. So if you are in a different time zone, you do need to adjust your self, I guess, to these times. So it's 11 p.m. Eastern time. So that's when everything is, all of these assignments are due. Obviously, you're probably going to do them in order, and obviously doing them in conjunction with the lecture videos. I'm just going to randomly click on an assignment so that I can, the first one doesn't really have any numerical things, so that's why I'm just randomly going to click on this second assignment here. But if you click on an assignment, of course, it brings you to a screen like this, which this is sort of your summary screen, where it's going to, for example, remind you of the due date, but also keep track of your current score, so you can see how you're doing. If you get, some of the problems, of course, have parts. So obviously, if you get parts of a problem right, but not all of it, you do get some partial credit. It also will show you a little, I'll just click on a question. But I should say, right down here is a sort of overview of the questions. Obviously, there's 23 questions in this assignment. And you can, you should probably do them in order, but you can certainly skip and go to some other problems if for whatever reason you want to or need to do that. So let me click on a problem just to show you what the screen usually more or less looks like. So, so sometimes there might be graphs that they provide and then some multiple choice style questions. So obviously in this case, you're reading and then choosing the correct option. There's maybe multiple parts. I have no idea what the correct answer is here. I'm just going to randomly pick something. Or let me go to a numerical question, actually, sorry. So if you want to scroll through other questions, you could either left, right arrow here, or if you click on the down arrow, it again sort of brings up that whole grid of all of the questions. So sorry, let me go to Different question. Yeah, okay, good. So sometimes you have multiple choice kinds of things. Other times you have numerical answers. Those are the ones you're going to actually be working on and dealing with most extensively. So for those, when you go to enter a numerical answer, if you click in the box there, this is just going to take numbers, right? So I can type whatever I want on the keyboard. You can use these little things if you want to do formatting, but I don't believe any of those are necessary. All of the answers to all the questions are just going to be numbers, so you can just use your keyboard to enter numbers. Rounding, let me say on rounding, it will often give you advice about how to round. In this case, it says a decimal rounded to 1 decimal place. My best advice to you on rounding is to always, always, always do 4 or 5 decimal places. If it says round to 1 decimal place and you've rounded to 4 decimal places, your answer will still be correct. However, if it wanted 4 decimal places and you only did 1, in all likelihood your answer is going to be marked wrong. So my best advice to you on rounding, which you're going to do in almost every single problem, because these are never going to, or almost never, going to be whole numbers, is to just keep 4 or 5, if you really want to be careful, 4 or 5 decimal places throughout the computation. Because you're going to maybe be doing several steps where first you compute this in your calculator, and then, okay, maybe I write that down. Write down 4 decimals, or 4 or 5 decimal places. Then maybe you take that number and you're going to do something else with it and hit enter again and get another number. Write down 4 or 5 decimal places of that, right? And eventually you get to your final answer, which hopefully, and then enter it like that. So if the real answer is 3.1 and you write 3.116283, it's still going to mark that right. Okay, but again, the other way around, it's not going to mark right. So students every semester always have some issues with rounding. And they say, oh, I'm getting all the problems right, but it's marking them wrong, and it's just because you're over-rounding. So just as a good general rule of thumb, no matter what it says here for advice about rounding, just do, like I said, 3 or 4 probably does it, 3, 4, 5 if you really want to be super careful, and you should have no problem. All right? So I want to show you, I think 3 is definitely wrong, but let's say I computed this and think the answer is 3.456, whatever, okay. So I can enter a value, an answer here, and then in the lower right corner here you can say check answer, which obviously, as the suggest, is where it checks your answer for you and tells you if it's right or wrong. So let me hit that. And of course this is wrong, and it does give you some advice. Now again, this is where I'll say it for the second time, but I'll give you the shorter version of the speech. The advice here, while correct, sometimes is not really what you need. Now this advice, which is just words, which are just words here, sure, this is actually somewhat helpful, although I would say actually, now that I read this, even this is not helpful because it's telling you how to compute this manually. So I would just say, right, take this little advice, these little advice blurbs that you're going to get with a heavy, big grain of salt. That for the most part, if you get something wrong, my advice would be to look over what you did and see if you maybe just have a silly mistake. But if you are like, I don't know how to do this, go back to the lecture videos and go back to the notes that you've taken from the lecture videos and try to match them up with an example problem from the lecture videos, which is going to show you how to do things in Excel, which including this, right? Including a problem like this where you would compute it in Excel without doing any real math. It's just a command that you would type in to ask for the mean. Okay, so right, so important thing you notice here is it right or wrong? That's important. But a lot of times, what the little message that comes up here is maybe not so useful. All right, so I got it wrong. But notice it's still letting me do the problem. So it'll let me submit a different. So it'll let me, maybe I go to the notes and go to the videos and I reread something and I try it again. I say, okay, I got it this time. It's 8.4, whatever that is, and it'll let me try it again. So it'll let me say check answer again. So I say check answer, and this is still wrong. And now this is the wrong, same advice. So I say, okay, it's still wrong. So again, maybe I go back and look again. And I do one more round. I compute it one more time. Whatever that is. Now, I believe for the most part on computational questions, you get 3 chances. So as you can see now, this says in the lower right corner, final check, which is a little bit of a not truth. But let me click on that. And as you can see now, it's sort of it's sort of given up on you. It doesn't say try again. It says, you know, it's still wrong, and it will give you the right answer. We got closer at least with that one, but it'll give you the right answer. And so sometimes seeing the right answer helps you kind of then uncover what you did wrong. This is where, again, especially if you're messing up because of just rounding. So the real answer is apparently 9.2, but if you were, if you had 9.168 or 9.1, it might not take that. So here's where sometimes seeing the right answer, comparing it to your answer. Now this only keeps track of your most recent answer. It doesn't keep track of the fact that you did we did 3 guesses. It just keeps track of the last one. But sometimes that's useful so that you can see it and it might illuminate something that you're doing wrong. But again, oftentimes this is your clue to go back and look over material again. Now what happens if you say, all right, well, am I dead now? Now notice it's marked that wrong with a little red, whatever you call that. So yes, that question is that part of the question is marked wrong. Now it is still going to let us do the rest of the problem, and so that's fine. So you could still do the rest of the problem and maybe get some other things right. But I'm going to show you how to sort of restart the problem so that you don't have to worry about being shut out. So when I do work, I'm just going to go on to a new problem. It will try to make sure that you are sure about things, right? So am I sure I want to leave? Yes, I want to just go on to the next question. And if you come back to a question, right, it saves what you've done until you basically, I think, complete the entire question, right? So you can move on. Let me just finish this question. Or you know what, actually, let me just go to... So you can save in the upper right corner to get back to this main screen. Let me just go to one that hopefully only has one part so I don't have to do... not a great problem. Let me see. Okay, this is a better one. All right. So again, let me just go through and fill in wrong answers so I can... again, don't do that. Don't do these. This is awful, right? You should immediately know, good Lord, I don't want to do that, right? Again, so we'll have better ways to do these things. Okay, so I get to the end, right? So when I get to the end of a problem that I've gotten wrong, or any part of it wrong, it does give you the option here of saying similar question, or you can just go on to the next question. Okay, this is after you finish all parts of a problem, so that's why this didn't pop up on the last one. Now I can click similar question here, and immediately it'll give me a similar version. And by similar, of course, it's basically the same exact question. They just changed the numbers so that you can't cheat and be like, oh, they told me the correct answer. Let me get another version of it and then just type in 91.3. Well, I promise the answer the next time isn't going to be 91.3. But it'll give you essentially the same question just with different values, so you can try it again. So if you click on similar question here, it'll let you do that. If you decide, oh, you know what, I'm going to go back to the book and I'm going to, let me just save what I've done so far. So I hit save. And come back to the screen, and maybe the next day you're going to come back and say, okay, let me see if I can tackle, I think it was 12 was the one we just were on. You can come back and say you got a red X here to indicate that you didn't get that one right. If you click on this again later on, it still brings up whatever you did the last time. And now that option to get a similar question is in the lower right corner. So I think this is what most people do, is when they get it wrong, maybe move on and see if you can do the rest. But then after you finish, quote unquote, finish the assignment, you might say, okay, now what problems did I get wrong along the way? And let me request similar questions of those so that I can get points. Because you can still get points for these problems even if you get them right on the second or third or fourth or 10th try. So if you click similar question, it's simply going to give you, I think these numbers changed, hopefully, and then it'll let you try the problem from scratch. And if you get it right this time, it'll say, it'll give you the points, right? It'll say you got it right. Okay, so so that's the homework system. It's pretty intuitive. Again, I'll say for the third time very briefly here. Just be careful that the advice it gives you is maybe is or isn't exactly what you need to do, and work through the problems. Most of them are pretty quick problems. Some of them, I mean, they're all, if you know what you're doing, each problem takes a minute or two. If you don't know what you're doing, then each problem could take a lot longer than that, right? If you're kind of looking up ways to do things in videos and in your notes, obviously it'll take you a lot longer than that. But that's the homework system. I don't think there's anything else that I wanted to say here. So the last thing I'll do is just very quickly give you a brief word or two about the Canvas page and where to find things. Sorry, there was one last thing I wanted to say. I won't show this to you, but when you finish, how do you submit your homework? You don't. Okay, so as you're doing those homework problems like we were just doing, and hopefully doing a lot better than I did since I got all of them wrong, you're going to be accumulating points for the problems that you get right. I can see all of that. And in fact, I can even see the answers that the final answers that you've typed in to the problems. So, so you don't have to submit homework. As long as you're saving your progress here in my stat lab, it's recording that grade in my stat lab. So don't worry about submitting your homework to me. That's something you're never going to do. So I'll just go in and I'll after the assignment is due, I'll look through and get the grades for the assignments, and I'll transfer them over to Canvas. So that's another thing. Please don't email me and ask me why isn't my grade transferred over. I won't transfer the grades over, unless you got 100. I won't transfer the grades over until after the assignment is due, because obviously I need to wait for everybody to finish the assignment before I know what your grade is. If I do transfer your grade over and then you go back later and do late problems, in other words, you submit some for late credit, you can send me an email, or I'll probably see it anyway. I think I get a little notification that says so-and-so has done late homework. You may need to adjust their grade, kind of thing. So so don't worry about the Canvas isn't showing the same thing as my stat lab. I promise once I go through and look at it, I promise it will eventually. All right, so don't worry about that. And don't worry about actually submitting any homework. It's all just built into the system. So for each unit, I'll just point, let me go to a more typical one. There are 6 instructional units. So at unit 1, 2, 3. And those 3 units then are covered on the midterm exam. And then there are 3 more, 4, which you can see, which is the longest and most difficult unit, or at least students say that it's the most difficult. So that's a 20-hour for that week for sure, to get through all of those videos and everything else that you have to do. So unit 4, unit 5, which is also very long and can be difficult, and then unit 6. So 4, 5, 6, and then the final exam, which is just based on or emphasizes units 4, 5, and 6. Right, so that's the layout of the whole course. As you can see, as I scroll through here, everything has a due date that are listed down here, whether it's a homework assignment or an exam. They're all Sunday night at 11 p.m., so that's easy to remember. Every Sunday night for the next 8 weeks, you have something due. What else do you typically see in a unit? I'll just stick with unit 3 here. These announcements are what I used to do, I think, back in the day, so I don't think you really have to read those, but I guess you can if you want. This is the most important thing on Canvas, is that for each unit, if you click on video lectures, these are the videos that you do need to watch, and these are the videos that you will, that are hopefully loading. Oh dear. Okay, well, I promise they do load. There they are. Okay. These are the videos that you're going to watch in order to learn the material. So watch these, rewatch these. These are embedded here, so you can watch them right here. If you just click play, it'll obviously let you watch these. You can turn, there we go. You can turn captioning on. This is sort of a player that looks a little bit like YouTube, I think. You can do full screen if you want. Right, if you click on the little, whatever that symbol is, as usual, you can get full screen. Sorry, let me hit play. You can, sometimes people will say that they think they can, or that they play better with earphones. So if that's the case, feel free to use earphones when you're watching. Jeez, I don't know why this isn't playing. Oh, there we go. Oh gosh. Oh, okay. I'm going to talk all over myself here. So these videos, right? I think I tried to make most of them about an hour, although some of them I think are quite a bit are a bit longer. Some of them maybe quite a bit longer if it was sort of more like a double video. I know there's a tendency to want to do what I'm doing right now, which is to watch and then maybe just do this, and then maybe watch a little later, and then maybe watch a little later, and then don't do that. It's really, I mean, maybe a second time through or a third time through if you're trying to scan through and find a particular part. But I have to say, I think there are always some students in my class that don't really watch these videos and just try to do the homework. I mean, it's a really rough way to try to learn the material. I know this is not the most exciting thing and that we're all cramped in at home and whatnot, and that it'd be easier and more fun to watch. I don't even, this looks awful, whatever's on the screen right now. But honestly, there's a lot of, this is how you're going to know how to do the homework problems. So my best motivation to say, don't be the person that's scanning through and just watching an hour-long video in 5 minutes, is to take notes, because I think that will really help you kind of pace yourself if you're trying to write stuff down. I mean, don't copy the slide down, right? I mean, don't be like, I am going to write these, 50 words or whatever's on the slide. I mean, don't do that. You can just come back here and look at the slide. But what you maybe want to write down are some notes or some thoughts, or maybe I say something. Obviously, I say probably 10 times as many things as is what's written on these slides. Well, I bet you those things that I'm saying that I'm not writing down are probably super important too. So, and again, don't write down all of that, but you want to process this, right? As you're learning and listening to stuff, things that you think sound important, maybe do jot those down, or little side things. There are example problems. Let me see if I can randomly luck out and get a sample problem, maybe. I should probably go later. Still no. Oh, I'm in a sort of an overview. Okay. Well, this one doesn't have as many sample problems as some of the other ones, but those are probably good to maybe, if you're watching for a second time, maybe come through and say, oh, I know we did some example of this, but I need to rewatch that example. That's fine, right? You can certainly maybe do the old scrolly thing in order to try to find a specific thing or two. Let me see if I can get better with it. Finding an example. So this is me sort of working out an example. I was looking for something a little more computational, but okay, yeah, this is me going to Excel to show you how to do it and getting an actual answer for problems and stuff like that. So anyway, so I think that the videos are pretty good at showing you how to do everything that you'll need to do in the homework. Having said that, of course, you do have to do some thinking, and there is some translation from one to another. But 99% of the time, if you ask me for help on a problem, if you send me what you've done, I can give you some specific advice. But if you're kind of just like, I'm lost and don't really see how to do these problems, I'm going to mostly say you need to watch the videos more carefully, because there are examples embedded in all these videos that are either exactly like or awfully similar to the homework problems that you're being tasked with doing. So come back to these videos often to hopefully get some good advice on how to do those things. So those are the videos. So that's probably important. Oh, I should say this screen, this home screen, is the modules screen. So in case it's not by default in this format, if you hit modules on the left side menu here, it'll look like the screen we've been looking at this whole time. So you see, so video lectures, those are posted for every unit except the first one. So for the first homework, you're going to read out of the ebook and do the first homework assignment, which I'll mention at the very end of this video. But for all the rest of them, there's video lectures here. If you want, as you could see from those videos we just looked at, videos are of me talking over, narrating, and inking on slides. If you want the actual slides that are clean, that don't have inking on them, and if you want to use those as like your notes thing, you're welcome to print the slides. Those are under, obviously here, slides. And then a third thing that you see for each unit is a link for homework. Now this is not where you're going to do homework. This is just so that I can enter a grade for you. But it does have the due date here. So this is sort of, I tried to make it so that Canvas has all of the due dates for the course, exams and homework. All right, so there's nothing for you to actually do here in Canvas. This is just a placeholder so that I can enter a grade for your homework number 2 that you're going to complete in my stat lab. Okay, so those are the 3, I should say 6, right? So unit 1, 2, 3. So do those 3. Then you'll do the midterm. Then do units 4, 5, 6. And then you'll do the final exam. Let me just click on one of the exams just to show you. Each of the 2 exams has 2 links. First is, as it suggests here, details and instructions. That's where, of course, there are details and instructions about the exam. So you can click on this at any time, and it just is information. There's also a practice exam in case you want to try that as you're studying, and it has detailed solutions below. And then just some general advice. I won't read this to you, but you can come through and look at that. So that's one thing for each of the 2 exams. That's the information side of things. And then the second link in each of those modules is the actual exam. So the little spaceship here means it's a quiz or an exam. So if you click on that, it brings you to, again, a little informational screen that gives you some advice, or just some general advice here. It also tells you how long you have, right? So the midterm is 2 hours, right? 120 minutes. I think the final is 3 hours, maybe. And then when you're ready to actually start, if you scroll down a little bit, yours will have a button. Mine says preview because I'm the instructor, but yours will say start quiz or something like that. Now, as soon as you click that, a timer is going to start, and you're in, and you're doing the exam. So don't click this button until you're actually ready to sit down and complete the whole exam in the however long you have for it time block. All right. So as soon as you hit that, right, it's going to open the exam and start the timer. So so just be careful of that. Hopefully you've taken some quizzes or exams in Canvas before. If you haven't, it's no big deal. When you click that, the exam just shows up here on the screen. There's a little timer that's somewhere in the upper right corner that's sort of counting for you, so you have some sense of how much time you have left. And then you're going to do the problems, right? The problems are all going to be on the screen. You're going to probably be doing a lot of them on paper and then just typing in your answers. That's fine. You're going to mark it up. You're going to do all the problems. And then at the very, 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 very bottom of the quiz, it'll say something like submit quiz. And as soon as you hit that, of course, it's been submitted. And then you can't go back in and make any changes. And if you run out of time, I believe it cuts you off and just auto submits at the end of your allotted time with whatever you have or haven't answered. So for the exams, there are some free response questions on exams. So a lot of them are numerical answers, which are going to be auto-graded. But some of them you're going to type in like a explanation of something or whatever, right? So obviously those are not going to be auto-graded. So I will go, after you submit your exam, I will go through and I will actually review your entire exam. Sometimes the system might mark something wrong that's actually fine. And so if that happens, I'll review all of your answers and give you credit for things that maybe were incorrectly marked wrong, in addition to grading those free response questions. So until I do that, any sort of score that you might see is not final. So wait until after I've done that. And after that, a grade will appear for you. I don't even think it actually appears. Maybe it sort of appears but unofficially or something weird like that. Once I've reviewed it, though, then it'll appear in the grade book or in your grade list. And you can then say, oh, okay, I got a whatever on the exam. Okay, so that's the exam and Canvas overview. Again, I think it's hopefully pretty self-explanatory. The entire course, as you can see, is published and active. So if you wanted to complete the entire course tomorrow, which I don't know if that's even humanly possible, you'd be welcome to do so. So you don't need to wait for me or wait for class or wait for due dates. I have nothing more for you. Everything is already here. So while I will send you guys some emails, just checking in, kind of reminders maybe of due dates and things like that, there's no additional material. There's also no synchronous component of the class, like message boards or anything like that you need to be posting to or anything like that. It's everything you need for the course is here. It's posted already. So you're welcome to work ahead. In fact, I would encourage you strongly to work ahead. That if you're finding like, oh gee, I did that first assignment in like an hour, click on the second one, right? Come down here and say, all right, let me start watching the videos at least for the second assignment. There's like 6 videos, I think, for the second assignment. So that's an awful lot of time that you're going to need to spend. So work ahead, right? I think mostly people who work ahead are finding that it's easier to then, when they have difficult units, they have the time that they need in order to do it. These due dates are here, of course, as the final, has to be submitted or has to be completed by these dates, but you're welcome to work ahead, including the exams. You don't have to wait for me to do exams, right? I always have someone who actually does complete the entire course in like a week or two, and they do the midterm and the final, and they're done, right? So that's fine. If you want to do that, that's totally up to you. So I think I've given you all of the advice. So what should you be doing right now after watching this video? Click on this third link here for registration instructions for the ebook and for my stat lab. Click on that, follow the directions, sign up, and you'll have access to my stat lab, and from there you're ready to go. So I'll click on reading assignment here, the fifth link here, chapter 1 reading assignment. This is in lieu of videos, right? You're watching this intro video right now, but in lieu of video for the first unit, I'm going to ask you to just read sections 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3 in the ebook. I showed you how to access those. And then after you read those and maybe take some light notes on those, there is a homework assignment. So if you go back in my stat lab and go to homework, you'll be ready then to do homework number 1, or homework for chapter 1, which is the first assignment. So click on this, it'll open up that little window, and you can start the problems. All right, for the first assignment, you should hopefully be able to get through it. It's mostly just sort of multiple choice kinds of answers. I don't even know if there's any real computations or math in there. So work on that. That's due Sunday, May 31st. Which is the first weekend, I guess, officially of our semester. But again, you don't need to wait until May 31st or even May 30th to do this. You can do it today if you want, right? So I think that's it for advice that I have for you. So if you have questions, I'm kind of mostly hands off. Like I said, I will occasionally check in and send a, hey, hope everybody's doing well kind of thing. But I'm not, I believe in empowering you to do the course on your own. I am here for you though, so if you do have questions, feel free to email me, whether it's, questions about content or otherwise, please feel free to send me an email. If you do have questions about problems, I worked on number 6 and I can't get number 6, send me a picture of what you've done. I don't want to say I won't help you otherwise, but it's very difficult for anybody to really help you unless you can sort of show what you've at least tried to do a problem. And again, if you do find yourself like, I'm just completely lost and don't understand any of these problems, keep rewatching the videos and try to isolate maybe portions or examples in the videos that are similar to the problem that you're being tasked with doing. If there are parts of the videos that you don't understand, certainly you can ask about that. But it's kind of, I wish there was a way for me to send you an email, that you read for 5 minutes and are able to understand something that took 6 hours of videos for me to teach, but there isn't. So unfortunately, the best thing you can do is really just sort of keep going back to those and asking specific questions, right, about portions of problems or of the videos that I might be able to do a little bit of clarifying on. There are tutors around for the summer that you sign up for in the usual way. Or this, I should say, I think there are tutors around in the summer. So check them out. And good luck this semester. And I will, like I said, I'll be in touch, but you're ready to go. So have fun as much as you can with the lectures, and I will be in touch.